Cheap is not a word that applies.
The watch is often blurred. However, when you come to Guangzhou, you cannot see any problem just by looking at the appearance. What you need to be careful about is that the low quality movement inside will be sold at a high price.
My suggestion is you can try it first or buy it through a legal way. I'm Sean. See you next time.
95% of all watches in the world, including that expensive timepiece on your wrist right now, are made in one place, Shenzhen, China. Not the snowy Swiss Alps with master craftsmen hunched over tiny workbenches. The luxury watch industry has been selling us a fantasy that's now unraveling at record speed, and even the untouchable Rolex has been forced to slash prices as a result. The curtain has been pulled back, and what's behind it might make you question everything you thought you knew about luxury timepieces. Think about it, while you're dropping $10,000 on a Rolex Submariner or a staggering $36,000 for a Royal Oak Extra Thin, believing you're investing in Swiss craftsmanship and heritage, the reality is shockingly different. That watch likely began its journey in a massive industrial complex in Shenzhen, alongside thousands of identical pieces rolling off the same production line. The pristine workshop with artisans in white gloves that luxury brands showcase in their marketing? That might just be the final stop on a global manufacturing journey that brands don't want you to know about.
You pay $4,400 for a Mid-S Tudor Black Bay monochrome. You pay almost $10,000 for a Rolex Submariner. And a Royal Oak Extra Thin, it costs like $36,000.
95% of the world's watches are made here, including the one you're wearing right now. Many big brand watches are produced or sourced for parts from here. This place is Shenzhen City, the world watch capital city. And in Shenzhen, you must not miss this factory.
Chinese factories aren't just making knockoffs anymore. They're producing the actual components used in many Swiss watches. TikTok is flooded with factory videos showing luxury watch parts being manufactured in massive quantities, boxed up and shipped out. The Swiss can't deny it anymore. The evidence is overwhelming, and insiders are finally speaking out. When you visit the industrial districts of Shenzhen, the truth becomes unavoidable. Entire buildings dedicated to crafting watch cases, dials, hands, and bracelets that look identical to those bearing luxury logos. One viral video shows workers assembling and packaging thousands of watches with the same precision and materials you'd expect from a high-end timepiece. These aren't back alley operations. They're sophisticated manufacturing facilities with cutting-edge equipment, skilled technicians, and quality control standards that rival anything in Geneva. Many proudly claim they supply components to major brands like Omega, Tag Heuer, Tissot, and yes, potentially even Rolex. We offer a wider range of styles, maintain strict production standards, and can support customization starting from just 50 pieces, boasted one factory representative who remained anonymous for obvious reasons.
Asking y'all should receive. Tisa, where are the watch manufacturers? I did some digging and I found the watch manufacturers. There is a new scandal coming out of the luxury watch division. Listen, if you want to keep going to Rolex, if you want to keep going to AP and spending your money, go and do that. However, industry insiders are coming out, and I have their videos. People have even been fired from it for lifting the hood away from the...
The term Swiss-made has been one of the slickest marketing loopholes in retail history. That prestigious label stamped on the bottom of your dial? It doesn't mean the entire watch was crafted in Switzerland. According to Swiss law, only 60% of a watch's value needs to come from Switzerland for it to earn that coveted status. And here's the kicker: branding, marketing, research, and final assembly all count toward that value. This means a watch can be almost entirely manufactured in China, then shipped to Switzerland, where someone inserts the movement, polishes it, and suddenly it's Swiss-made. You're dropping thousands on what is essentially a Chinese product with a Swiss finishing touch. Let's break down what this means for a $6,000 Omega Seamaster. The case, bracelet, dial, and hands, all the parts you actually see and touch, could be manufactured in Shenzhen, pre-assembled, and shipped to Switzerland. Once there, a technician installs a Swiss-made movement, the internal mechanism, performs quality checks, and adds the final engraving. Total time spent in Switzerland? Perhaps a few hours. But because the movement, brand value, marketing, and final assembly happen in Switzerland, they can legally stamp Swiss-made on the dial. It's genius marketing disguised as tradition, and consumers have been paying the premium for decades without questioning it. One former employee who worked for a major Swiss brand revealed he was fired simply for asking too many questions. "I'm going to fire Harold," his supervisor allegedly told him. "Why?" he asked. "The watch is a fake." What's fake about it? According to the serial number, it doesn't correspond to that. While restoring vintage watches from the 1970s, he discovered that many parts were already coming from Asia decades ago. He shared photographic evidence of bracelets, hands, and dials, all produced in China. Sometimes the movements were Swiss, but other times they were just cheap quartz pieces thrown in at the last minute.
Most Swiss watches are actually made in China, and the reason that replicas often look just as good as the original is that they are made in the same factory.
They offer a wider range of styles to choose from, maintain strict production standards, and can support customization, starting from just 50 pieces. What? Worry about them are just middlemen? You contact them directly.
This whistleblower isn't alone. Multiple industry veterans have come forward with similar stories. One former quality control specialist described how they were instructed to overlook certain inconsistencies in components if they came from preferred suppliers, a euphemism for authorized Chinese manufacturers. Another spoke of visiting a factory in Switzerland only to discover that many of the workers were actually Chinese nationals brought in specifically for their expertise with certain machinery, the same machinery being used in Shenzhen. The more you dig, the more the lines between authentic luxury and high-quality replica begin to blur. But why hasn't this scandal made headlines? The luxury watch industry is flush with cash. Major magazines receive millions in advertising revenue from brands like Rolex, Omega, and Cartier. They're not about to risk that relationship by exposing uncomfortable truths. Watch bloggers and influencers are even more compromised, flown to Baselworld, gifted expensive timepieces, treated to lavish dinners. None of them will risk their gravy train to tell consumers what's really happening. Just look at the numbers. A single full-page ad in a prestigious watch magazine can cost upwards of $50,000. The major luxury conglomerates like Swatch Group, Richemont, and LVMH collectively spend hundreds of millions annually on advertising. One watch journalist who requested anonymity confessed, "We all know which side our bread is buttered on. Write something critical about Rolex's manufacturing practices. Watch how quickly your press access disappears, along with those invitation-only events and the review samples that mysteriously become forgotten gifts." The same applies to the major YouTube channels and Instagram influencers who've built careers on unboxing luxury watches. The entire ecosystem depends on maintaining the mystique, even when they personally know better. That's why it took outsiders to break the story wide open. YouTubers, TikTokers, and anonymous factory workers started sharing what the industry insiders wouldn't. And the evidence became so overwhelming that Rolex did something unprecedented. They quietly lowered their prices.
Watches come in different sizes. A small dial makes your wrist slimmer, while a larger one makes you a stronger area. First of all, you need to determine your budget range. The Rolex Data Jet is the best choice for cost-effective.
I'm going to fire Harold. Why? The watch is a fake.
What's fake about it?
According to the serial number,
It doesn't correspond to that watch.
It wasn't announced with fanfare. Rolex never admits to sales or discounts, but watch enthusiasts quickly noticed that certain models like the Submariner, GMT Master 2, and select Oyster Perpetuals saw price cuts of up to 20% in some markets. Coincidentally, these are the same models most frequently replicated in the Chinese market. The timing couldn't be more suspicious. Right after viral videos showed Rolex-style cases and bezels being packed by the thousands in a warehouse in Longgang. Let's put this in perspective. A stainless steel Submariner that was retailing for around $10,000 suddenly dropped to approximately $8,000 in certain regions. The GMT Master 2 Batman, with its distinctive blue and black bezel, saw similar reductions. These aren't insignificant amounts. We're talking about price drops of $1,500 to $2,000 per watch. For a brand that has historically only increased prices year after year, cultivating decades-long waiting lists for their most coveted models, this reversal is nothing short of seismic. Dealers who spoke off the record described panic calls from managers instructing them on the new pricing strategy, emphasizing that it should be presented as market adjustment rather than a response to any external factors. Luxury brands don't slash prices for fun, especially not Rolex, whose entire business model revolves around exclusivity and scarcity. These calculated price reductions came precisely when their supply chain was being exposed. The carefully crafted illusion of rarity that drives desire for luxury watches was suddenly threatened. Consumers are waking up and cutting out the middlemen entirely. They're joining private Telegram chats, WeChat groups, and WhatsApp circles to connect directly with factories. These manufacturers aren't just making knockoffs, they're producing high-quality pieces with premium materials, often using the same production lines that supply the major brands. And they're not even calling them replicas anymore. The terminology has evolved to factory direct, B-grade, homage, same line release, parallel build, or unbranded OEM.
Perpetuals. You want to start adding Rolex to your collection? These are the 5 cheapest Rolex watches that you can buy right now. First one, we got the 36mm Datejust 16220 with the engine turn bezel, and it's worth around $6,500. The next watch is a 36mm Datejust 16014 with a blue dial and fluted bezel. This one is priced at around $6,200.
One viral TikTok showed a factory representative displaying 2 virtually identical watches side by side. This one, he said, pointing to the left, costs $8,500 at an authorized dealer. This one, pointing to the right, costs $780 directly from us. The differences were imperceptible to the untrained eye. Same ceramic bezel, same sapphire crystal, same 904L stainless steel, same automatic movement with similar accuracy. The only visible difference was the absence of a logo on the dial and crown. Another video demonstrated how these factories can produce custom pieces that don't even exist in the official catalogs. Want a Daytona with a meteorite dial and a transparent case back? No problem. A Submariner with a unique color combination not offered by Rolex? They'll make it for you, using the same grade materials, for about 1/10 of what you'd pay for the official version. One whistleblower even claimed that some Chinese suppliers receive excess materials from genuine Rolex production orders. Instead of discarding these extras, they complete the watches and sell them through underground channels. These aren't obvious fakes. They're essentially the real thing without the official brand blessing. The allegations go even deeper. According to several sources familiar with the supply chain, when luxury brands place orders for components like dials, cases, or bracelets, they typically order in bulk, often more than they actually need to account for quality control rejections. Components that fail the stringent final inspection might have microscopic flaws that are virtually invisible without specialized equipment. Rather than destroying these B-grade parts as officially required, some suppliers allegedly set them aside. These components, which came from the exact same production run as the parts that made it into authorized boutiques, are then assembled into complete watches and sold through unofficial channels. It's the same watch, claimed one source, made with the same materials in the same factory by the same workers. The only difference is that it didn't get the final blessing from Geneva. When you look at the numbers, the markup becomes even more shocking. Industry insiders reveal that a watch retailing for $6,000 typically costs between $1,200 and $1,500 to produce, less than 25% of the sticker price, and that's before dealer markups. While some brands like Christopher Ward openly state they never charge more than 3 times their production cost, and Omega marks up about 4 times, Rolex is believed to multiply their cost by 5 times or more. Let's break down the actual cost of a luxury watch. Take a standard stainless steel Rolex Submariner retailing for approximately $10,000. The 904L stainless steel case and bracelet, perhaps the most expensive components, cost around $25300 in raw materials. The in-house movement, while impressive, costs approximately $400-500 to manufacture at scale. The sapphire crystal, bezel, dial, and hands might add another $200-300. Assembly, quality control, and packaging might contribute another $200-300. Even with generous estimates for research and development allocation, the total production cost rarely exceeds $1,500. $2,000. That's an astonishing 80 to 85% gross margin before marketing and distribution costs. Rolex operates with unusual secrecy, classified as a non-profit foundation that doesn't publicly share financial data. This structure allows them to maintain their mystique while keeping their margins private. But make no mistake, they're not just breaking even. Unlike publicly traded luxury groups that must report their financials, the Wilsdorf Foundation, which owns Rolex, keeps its books closed. However, industry analysts estimate their annual revenue exceeds $8 billion, with profit margins that would make even tech giants envious. And because of their unique structure, they're not obligated to pay dividends to shareholders or answer to quarterly expectations, allowing them to maintain their aura of exclusivity without market pressures. Now, this doesn't mean all replicas are worth buying. The $60 knockoffs you find online might look passable in a blurry Instagram photo, but they cut serious corners. The movements inside are typically random, low-quality parts that don't provide that smooth sweep of a genuine automatic watch. They lack water resistance, use cheap alloys that scratch easily, have poor luminescence, and feel noticeably different in weight. The finishing is nowhere near the quality you'd expect from a luxury timepiece. As one watch enthusiast who tested multiple replicas explained, "The cheap fakes will give themselves away immediately. They tick like a broken metronome instead of sweeping smoothly. The bezels feel loose and wobbly, the crown threads are rough and feel like they could strip at any moment. And forget about water resistance, I've seen these things fog up just from washing hands." These obvious knockoffs use alloys that contain nickel instead of proper stainless steel, resulting in potential skin reactions. The lume, the glow-in-the-dark material on the dial, might shine brightly for a minute but fades to nothing after 5 minutes, unlike genuine Swiss luminescent compounds that can glow all night. The sapphire crystal is usually just mineral glass that scratches easily, and perhaps most tellingly, the weight is usually off by 20 to 30%. Pick up a genuine Submariner and a $60 fake, and the difference is immediately apparent. So, are luxury watches actually overpriced? It's complicated. If you're buying one strictly for the craftsmanship, innovation, and engineering, you might feel misled. Many luxury watches aren't the mechanical marvels they're marketed as. Some brands assemble pre-made components, add their logo, double the price, and call it innovation when it's really just clever branding. Consider this: the technology inside most mechanical watches hasn't fundamentally changed in decades. The basic principles of an automatic movement were perfected in the 1950s. While there have been incremental improvements in accuracy and power reserve, the core technology remains largely the same. When you compare this to other luxury items, cars, electronics, even fashion, the lack of true innovation is striking. You're effectively paying 2025 prices for 1960s technology wrapped in marketing mythology. But here's what you're really paying for: status, recognition, and that silent flex when you walk into a room. For some, that feeling is priceless. When you wear a Rolex, you're not just wearing a timepiece, you're wearing instant credibility. You're signaling your membership in an exclusive club. You're communicating success without saying a word. And in many social and business circles, that unspoken message has tangible value. As one luxury consultant put it, people don't buy a Rolex to tell time, they buy it to tell others who they are. Your smartphone keeps better time than any mechanical watch ever could. The $300 Apple Watch has more functionality than any $30,000 mechanical timepiece, but neither offers the same emotional and social currency as that Submariner or Daytona on your wrist. Technically, yes, luxury watches are overpriced considering their production costs, but emotionally, that's a personal calculation. Only you can decide if the prestige, craftsmanship, heritage, and status are worth the premium you're paying. For many watch enthusiasts, the answer remains yes, even knowing what we now know about where and how they're made. Now that you know the truth about the factories, the markups, the marketing myths, you have the power to decide if the prestige is worth the premium. The real value isn't in the brand or even in the watch itself, it's in what it means to you. The luxury watch world will never be the same after these revelations. Prices are dropping, secrets are spilling, and consumers are more informed than ever before. The question isn't whether you should still buy a Rolex, it's whether Rolex can maintain its mystique now that we've seen behind the curtain. And as we've learned from history, once an illusion is broken, it's nearly impossible to restore it completely. The watch industry isn't just facing a price correction, it's facing an existential reckoning.